Ham Fixin's Net, first and third Monday, 7 p.m., W5FC. W5FC. MCOMnet, second Monday at 7 p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use a repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with emergency or priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the # break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control, that would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to W5FC.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. What's up? 6. Space exploration and space history. 7. Constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A, and 12. 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Stand by, I lost my pen. There it is. Let's start with low power, short time check-ins. Please come now.
W5 VLT Bill? Scarlet.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob, Farmers Branch.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas, low power.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
Okay, the first one, W5, I think it's BLD. I missed your name. Would you come back with that? Okay, maybe we'll come back to it. KG5 IFR, Jacob, W5 GUS, Gus, and WB4 MFI, Ted. All right, we'll now take general check-in.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, AG5 PM.
November 5, Bravo, Bill and Irving.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Alpha Golf 5, Delta Bravo, US Edison Apple.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform, Kilo Uniform, David, Mesquite.
This is Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richards.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Jazz, Mesquite.
All right, let's pause there. AG5 PM, Rich, N5BB, Bill, KF5ZBL, Bill, KE5ICX, Tom, NT5TM, Tony, and the next one I missed the name. I think the call is AG5 Delta Bravo. Would you please come back with the name and confirm your call?
Yeah, this is AG5 Delta Bravo, name is Edith, location somewhere near Edison Airport.
Your signal's pretty weak. I still didn't get your name.
Okay, let's try that again. Name is Peter, Papa, Echo, Tango, Echo, Roger.
Copy that is Peter, Papa, Echo, Tango, Echo, Romeo. Okay, KG5, Uniform, Kilo, Uniform, David, AA5AH, Robert, and KF5JHA, Chaz. All right, let's pick up some Echolink.
Five, Juliet at Delta Whiskey, John and Norman, Oklahoma.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo to the Whiskey J, New Weatherford.
Control Whiskey 0, Mike Bravo Charlie Shane.
And best need All right, we've got K5JDW John, KG5BZW Jay, and W6MBO Shane with Bethany. All right, more general check-ins, please.
This is November 5, Golf Hotel Oscar, Lance in Louisville.
Whiskey Delta 5, Baker Papa X-Ray, Bobby Wills Point.
Okay, we have NGHO Lance and WD5BPX Bobby. We'll pick up some more later, so let's go ahead and get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest hams.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
And T5TM, go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Brendan. Several people have been reminding me of good announcements today. We do have the Afterglow movie discussion coming up tonight at 10:30 p.m. We'll be reviewing The First Man into Space from 1959. Not actually a movie about Yuri Gagarin. That will take place tonight at 10:30-ish after this net finishes its business right here on this frequency. The Radio Club is also looking for nominations for its famous Whit and Ann Griffith Community Service Award. More details about how to nominate someone for that award are available at w5fc.org. And as N5BB reminded me earlier tonight, the Dallas and Irving Radio Clubs will be collaborating on Winter Field Day later this month. Yes, Winter Field Day, when it's fun to go outside and you don't broil. We'll get more details up at w5fc.org as the month progresses, but just be aware it's coming up and you might want to participate. It's outdoors. It's pretty awesome. NT5TM.
Thank you, Tony. We have other announcements about NET, the AMSET Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, you'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSET. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, amsetnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSET Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz. Tuesdays, Tom, N5HYP, is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is DARC Club Night, no AMSET East night. Dallas AMSET Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, VL 110.9 megahertz positive offset. So our standard nets, Mondays, first week Ham Fixins, second week MCOM 101, third week Ham Fixins, fourth week GeekNet, fifth week Surprise Net. If we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. Tuesdays, AMSIT East, 8 p.m., Q&As, info and news for amateur satellites. Fridays, CERT City simulation, 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays, TechNet, 7 to 8, and of course, Skynet. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, MODA. Then daily, we have the ARRL Net, National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. Central. All are welcome to check into any or all of these nets. All right, as Tony mentioned, we have tonight's Afterglow movie. KE5ICX has put a little synopsis of it here. Maybe he would like to read it, KE5ICX. Are you there?
Oh, yes, Brenda, and I could even sing it, but I don't think they'd let me. But think of it this way. Think of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as the musical back sound. Here it is. Dan was an Air Force pilot and had a very fast airplane. And if you ever saw him, you would say he flew insane. All of the other pilots used to laugh and call him names, but they never let poor Danny join in any pilot games. Then one crazy afternoon, Commander Prescott said, "Danny, with your skills so right, won't you fly your Y-12 to new heights? You try to make Y-12 work." That's then how the pilots loved him, as they shouted out with glee, "Danny, your flight goes higher than any pilot has in history. Join us on Saturday to see what happens to Danny. I can tell you it has monsters with plenty of dubious scenery. You'll watch for all the airplanes in action you will adore, but then before you know it, it's a movie you'll abhor. It's a movie you'll abhor." Actually, it wasn't too bad. It's sort of like making your homemade wine, which I've done before. It wasn't horrible. So this movie falls into Tom's Wine, not horrible. That's tonight at 10:30. Be here or be grounded. KE5ICX.
You say it wasn't horrible. Well, you're going to have to back that up. All right, you can keep up with all DARC nets, events, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. All right, let's see if we have any more check-ins. Please come now.
Five, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Relic.
Okay, Randy, your first part of your call got cut off. Would you please come again with your full call?
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, K5GLD.
Okay, gotcha. K5GLD, Randy. Thanks for coming to the net. All right, next we're going to talk about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. I'm going to call on Chaz, KF5JHA, to tell us what's going on.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. Actually, it's been about 2 years for most of our public sessions. The because of COVID. Anyway, the next Texas Astronomical Society Club meeting will be held on Friday, January the 28th at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be held on Zoom. Dr. Noah Pearson from Montana State University, he's a graduate student there, will be a featured speaker, and he'll be talking about gravity waves. TAS Club members will receive an email link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting. Now, on Saturday night, public observing sessions have been placed on hold because of COVID as well. Now, one of the reasons why Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights was so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions that are also held on Saturday nights. But again, they've been on hold pretty much for most of the last 2 years. But check the TAS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5JHA, back toward net control, Brenda.
Thank you. This is WB50ZL. Next, National Space Society events and activities. Bill, N5BB, would you please tell us what's going on?
Sure. Thank you, Brenda. This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I happen to be the membership director for the National Space Society North Texas chapter. Our normal meeting times are the second Sunday afternoon of each month. So our January meeting will be tomorrow afternoon, January the 9th, and we would normally be meeting at Spring Creek Barbecue on Highway 183 in Irving, but because of the pandemic, we'll again be meeting virtually on WebEx. The meeting, the WebEx session will start at 3:30, but the actual presentation of our meeting, the presenter will start at 4 p.m. and go for about an hour. And the presentation tomorrow is going to be about food and astronauts in space. So what kind of food, how is it delivered, and all kinds of things about food that astronauts might eat in space or on the moon or on Mars. And this presentation is being done by one of our local chapter members, Tynessa Morgan Craft, after a bunch of research that she has done, researching other studies, some personal research, you might say, into this. If you would like to participate, you can do so by going to space.cent.com. That's SPACE.SENT.com. That's a web address. Go to that with your browser. You'll see a form. If you don't see the form, click on the register button, and then you will see the form. Filled out with your name and your email address and any questions you have or comments, and click register, and then the system will email you the login credentials. Again, the WebEx session will start at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon, and the actual presentation is at 4 about food in space. This is in 5BB. Currently, we're holding very few in-person events, so there's no near-term in-person event that's going to be occurring until the pandemic slows down again. I think that's it. We're still working on our website. You can go to our Facebook page and find a little bit. We apologize, but it's just taken us longer than anticipated to get everything all up on our website. We moved it to a different host. This is N5BB. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you very much, Bill. All right, let's go into our discussion topic of the evening. Tonight we're going to talk about the upcoming space missions for 2022. So it's pretty exciting. There's a lot coming up, and I'm very excited. 2021 wasn't a bad year for space, but 2022 is going to be pretty cool. All right, SpaceX will attempt the first orbital test flight of its Starship early in the calendar year, and NASA's heavy lift rocket may finally fly mid-year after many delays. Several lunar missions are in the works, as is a mission to an iron asteroid. To top it off, Mars reaches opposition and thus launch season at the close of 2022. Of course, keep in mind, schedules are fluid and subject to change. You know that. In Earth orbit, this year gets off to an exciting start right at the turn of the calendar page, as SpaceX has hinted that they may conduct an orbital test launch of its Starship rocket from the company's Boca Chica facility in Texas as early as February. Starship is a workhorse that will not only carry 100 tons to low Earth orbit, but may also one day land heavy payloads on the Moon and Mars. The FAA continues its programmatic Environmental Assessment, PEA, for the proposed Starship Super Heavy project in Boca Chica, Texas. The new target date for issuing the final PEA is February 28th. Later this spring, Boeing's Starliner is set to resume test flights after a semi-failure in December 2019, when the uncrewed capsule made it to orbit and back but didn't make it to the International Space Station. And speaking of the ISS, SpaceX will also carry out the first AX-1 Crew Dragon tourist flight in February, the first of 2 tourist flights for the company in 2022. Space telescopes and more. The beginning of the new year will also bring commissioning of the just launched James Webb Space Telescope and imaging X-ray polarimeter Explorer. China may also launch its advanced space-based solar observatory in January, the country's first dedicated solar mission. The Indian Space Research Organization also plans to field its own solar observatory mission, Aditya-L1, in late 2022. Like the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, Aditya L1 will head toward the Sun for the L1 Lagrange point. Meanwhile, the European Space Agency will launch the Laser Relativity Satellite 2 on a Vega rocket in April. The mission will test general relativity in Earth's gravitational field. Return to the Moon. The number of planned lunar missions makes 2022 a fascinating year for spaceflight. Kicking off the lunar launch list for 2022 is Artemis 1, lifting off no earlier than February 12th. This is the inaugural flight of the Space Launch System, or SLS, NASA's heavy lift rocket that is key to the Artemis initiative to return humans to the Moon. Artemis 1 is uncrewed and will put the Orion multipurpose crew vehicle in a 6-day retrograde orbit around the Moon before returning it to the Earth. Artemis 1 will also deploy several CubeSat payloads. Another Artemis program mission launches no earlier than March 19th. As a cislunar autonomous positioning system technology operations and navigation experiment, that's called Capstone, heads to the Moon. Capstone is a Pathfinder mission for the crewed Lunar Gateway platform, which will serve as a way station for teams headed to the lunar surface. Like the Gateway, Capstone will enter and demonstrate the stability of a near rectilinear halo orbit around the Moon. Capstone will launch on a Rocket Lab Electron rocket from the company's Mahia Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand. You can expect to see the first commercial lunar landings in 2022 as part of NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program, CLPS. First up is Initiative Machines Nova Sea Lander, which will deliver 5 payloads to the lunar surface in April during the IM-1 mission. The company also plans to land a second mission, IM-2, near the lunar South Pole in December. IM-2 will also carry 5 payloads, including the Micronova lunar hopper and NASA's Polar Resources ice mining experiment, which includes the regolith and ice drill for exploration of new terrains, Trident drill for sampling the subsurface. Astrobotics will also carry out its Peregrine Mission 1 under the CLPS in mid-22. The Peregrine Lander will launch on the inaugural flight of United Launch Alliance's Vulcan Centaur rocket and carry more than a dozen payloads for NASA and other commercial partners to the Lacus Mortis Plateau region on the Moon. Other nations and space agencies are planning on heading to the Moon in 2022 as well. Japanese Aerospace Agency, JAXA, will send the Sputnik for investigating the Moon, a technology demonstrator for precision landing. On its way, that mission will also deploy the small joint JAXA/NASA X-ray imaging and spectroscopy mission into low Earth orbit. The ISRO, will also attempt a lunar landing in 22 with the Chandrayaan-3 mission. Though Chandrayaan-2 remains in lunar orbit, the Vikram lander failed in 2019. Like Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-3 is an orbiter-lander rover combination. Russia's Roscosmos also plans to send Lunar 25 to the Moon in July. Lunar 25 will land in the lunar South Pole region in Bogoslavsky Center and will be Russia's first lunar mission since Lunar 24 in 1976, launched during the Soviet era. The United Arab Emirates also wants to send up the Emirates lunar mission, which will include a micro rover accompanying the Hakuto R mission built by the Japanese company IzSpace to the lunar surface. South Korea plans on launching the Korean Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter, KPLO, in August 22. KPLO will be the first lunar planetary mission for the Korean Aerospace Research Institute. Finally, there is word that the Ukrainian-based Lunar Research Service, LRS, company may launch a small mission from Andoya Space Center in Norway late in the year. It would fly on the inaugural flight of the 3-stage RSA-1 rocket built by Rocket Factory Augsburg in Germany. Mars season and beyond. Looking out to planetary exploration, 2 exciting missions are scheduled to depart Earth in 2022. First up is Psyche, launching on a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket in August. Psyche is headed to explore the eponymous metallic asteroid 16 Psyche, with arrival expected in early 2026. Psyche will also carry Janus as a secondary payload, which will fly to the binary asteroids 1996 FG3 and 1991 VH. Finally, as the red planet reaches opposition in December 2022, a window opens for missions to launch to Mars. One mission is expected to make the trip this year, as a joint Roscosmos/ESA ExoMars mission is due to lift off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on September 20th. The mission will deliver the Rosalind Franklin rover and Kazachok lander to Oxia Planum on June 10th, 2023. A successful Mars landing would be a first for both ESA and Roscosmos. ExoMars 2022 was delayed from the 2020 launch window to allow for additional tests and software and hardware integration as per recommendations from Russian and European Inspector Generals. Action in deep space. Meanwhile, missions in deep space continue to make their way to their destinations in 2022. ESA's Bepi Colombo will make its second flyby past Mercury on June 23rd. The agency's solar orbiter will also make its third flyby past Venus on September 3rd. A maneuver that will change the mission's inclination so that it will have a more polar view of the Sun. Meanwhile, NASA's Juno spacecraft will make a pass near Jupiter's moon Europa on September 29th. And Lucy will make the first pass near Earth on October 16th as it's en route to the Trojan asteroids by the end of the decade. Also, all eyes will be on NASA's just-launched Double Asteroid Redirection Test, DART, as it arrives at the binary asteroid Didymus next year and crashes into the tiny moonlet Dimorphos on September 26, 2022. And when they say this next year, they mean this year. This article was written before the end of the year. So 2023 and beyond, and there's more. 2023, we'll see the launch of ESA's Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, that's JUICE, ExoMars 2022's landing on the Red Planet, and the OSIRIS-REx sample return that leads to Earth on September 24th. It's an exciting time in space flight for sure in 2022 and beyond, and we're going to talk about every one of these here because we're going to be here every Saturday night talking about space. All right. Do we have any more check-ins?
This is AC5DL.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima.
Okay, KC5DL, can I get your name, please?
Call is Alpha Charlie 5 Delta Lima. Name is Dave.
I beg your pardon. AC5DL, Dave. And KG5WVL, can I get your name, please?
Yes, KG5WVL. This is James.
All right, very good. Welcome to the net. Okay, moving on. Next, we have What's Up with Chaz, KF5JHA. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics. I am in charge of the astrophysics lab and the geology lab at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus, and we do call this segment of Skynet What's Up? Slide Master. That was slide number 1. Slide number 2 in my slide deck, please. By the way, Tom is our slide master, just to let you know. If you're on the video section, that's the guy you see sometimes there. Slide number 2. On January the 2nd, the moon was new, so the current phase of the moon is a waxing crescent. On January 9th, that would be tomorrow, the moon is at its first quarter phase. On January 13th, the moon is at an apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth, at a distance of 405,805 kilometers. Full moon is on January the 17th. On January 25th, the moon phase will be third quarter. On January the 30th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of this month of 362,252 kilometers. The new phase of the moon will be on January 31st. Slide number 3, please. Tonight, right now, around 10 p.m., the winter sky presents us with the most bright stars during any other time of the year. Unfortunately, it's cloudy here. Let me suggest that you download a free star map at skymaps.com and start learning the bright stars. This website publishes a different free evening star map every month. If you already have a star map for January, pull it up now and follow along. Slide number 4, please. We have talked many times about the summer triangle, Vega, Deneb, and Altair. But did you know that you can still see those 3 stars at this time of the year? If you'd looked at the western sky just after sunset tonight, you could have seen those 3 stars low in the northwestern part of the sky. Interesting. Slide number 5. By looking at the 10 p.m. sky tonight, there is a winter circle of bright stars, beginning with a bright star that's close to being overhead right now, Capella and Auriga. Capella will be close to the center of the January evening star map, if you have a January star map. Then going clockwise, you can find Aldebaran, the bright red bullseye in Taurus. Continuing on the circle, we arrive at the bright star on the knee of Orion, Rigel. Rigel is oftentimes mentioned in the Star Trek series. Sirius is the next star in the circle and is the brightest star in the sky, well, other than the sun. Next is the star Procyon in Canis Minor. Now, on to 2 stars representing the heads of the Gemini twins, Pollux and Cancer. Pollux and Castor. And finally, we get back to the star Capella. At the center of this circle, we find the supergiant star Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. The winter circle is easy to find even from inside most light-polluted city locations. Unfortunately, they've just replaced the parking lot lights in my apartment complex with lights that are 10 times brighter, so I'm not sure if I can see anything other than the sun and the moon. Anyway, I hope you continue to learn more stars and constellations throughout this year. Slide Master, slide number 6, please. Tonight, around 6:30 in the southwestern evening sky, if it had been clear, you would have been able to see a line of planets. Low in the sky, you could have seen Mercury. Just above Mercury and a little to the left was the planet Saturn. Above Saturn and further to the left was the much brighter Jupiter. Venus is now an inferior conjunction right now, today, which means it is in between the Earth and the Sun, so you can't really see Venus right now. But in about 10 days, we should be able to start seeing it emerge in the morning twilight in the eastern sky. Mars is in the morning sky right now as well. Slide number 7, please. On January 13th, the 2 planets, Mercury and Saturn, will be just a few degrees apart in their conjunction in the southwestern evening sky just after sunset. Slide number 8. On January 29th, the Moon and Mars will be in conjunction with Venus very close beside them, all in the early morning southeastern sky. Slide number 9. On January the 30th, the Moon is now in conjunction with the planet Mercury in the early morning southeastern sky. It may be difficult to see this conjunction due to the strong twilight, and the conjunction is very low in the sky. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 10, please. Once again, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, January the 28th at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be held on Zoom, and Dr. Noah Pearson from Montana State University will be talking about gravity waves. The unfortunate thing is that our observing sessions have really been on hold for the most part in the last 2 years. So unfortunately, you can't look through a telescope right now in our public observing sessions until they start up again, which I hope again is soon. Go to texasastro.org. That's their website for details about meetings and public observing sessions. Slide Master, slide number 11, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information I've just talked about? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question, or someone else here on the net might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Well, I can't believe that all of you are that quiet out there. Slide number 12. So as the moon waned at the end of December, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next week, actually I'll be doing another segment in Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5, JHA, back to our Net Control, Brenda. It's all back to you.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Do we have any more check-ins right now? All right. Next up, space exploration news. For the ISS, this is good news. The Biden-Harris administration has directed NASA to enable the International Space Station's use through 2030, asking that the space agency continue working with its international partners to meet that end. I am pleased that the Biden-Harris administration has committed to continuing station operations through 2030, said NASA Administrator Bill Nelson in a statement posted to NASA's website on New Year's Eve, December 31st. I know this news is a little old, not that old. This decision grants the orbiting laboratory a 6-year life extension. And the JWST, this is the best news this week. The James Webb Telescope has fully unfolded its mirrors. This is the last segment happened this morning, and I watched the animation live myself. This is, as far as I can tell, been a flawless mission since they launched, and it's pretty exciting. We're probably going to devote some more future segments on in Skynet to the James Webb, because this is just too exciting. Perseverance. It recently captured its 6th rock core and has encountered a new challenge. Seems some pebble-sized debris is obstructing its robotic arm from handing off the tube for sealing and storage. So we'll see how that works out. Ingenuity. The next flight on Mars marks the first of 2022 and the 19th for NASA's Ingenuity Mars helicopter. The current mission goal is to reach the Jezero River Delta to aid the Perseverance rover in path planning and scientific discovery. This flight takes the Scout vehicle out of the South Saita Basin across the dividing range and up onto the main plateau. The precise landing target for Flight 19 is near the landing site of Flight 8. Images taken during Flight 9 by the rotorcraft's high-resolution Return-to-Earth, RTE, camera were used to select a safe landing zone. Then the Mystery Hut. I think we talked about this before. The Mystery Hut, or house, spotted by China's U-22 rover on the far side of the moon, turns out to be a rock. What a surprise. It's not exactly a surprise, but it's an amusing conclusion to the lunar enigma that entranced so many of us in December. What's amusing is that anybody thought it was a house. It turns that the cube-shaped hut is a small, lumpy rock sitting on a crater rim. It just happened to look much bigger and more mysterious in the rover's first image. After getting closer and getting some perspective, the rover was able to reveal the object's true nature. The rock's huddle shape has now earned it the nickname Jade Rabbit because it looks a bit like a bunny crouching down with a couple of carrots in front of it. There are some dainty round pieces behind the rock's rump that look like bunny poop, which just adds to the fun. The U-22 rover's name translates to Jade Rabbit, so it's like the rover found its own mascot on the moon. U-22 is part of the China National Space Administration's Change 4 mission that landed in 2019 to undertake an ambitious exploration of the moon's far side. U-22 works on solar power, so it periodically hibernates until the sun comes back out. That's why it took some time to move closer to the mystery hut for a better look. Space-related birthdays. Frederick D. Gregory, January 7, 1941. He flew on STS-51B, STS-33, and STS-44. Christopher Cassidy, January 4th, 1970. STS-127, Soyuz TMA-08M, Expedition 3536. Soyuz MS-16, Expedition 6263. Michael Foale, January 6, 1957. STS 45, 56, 63, and 84 up. Mir NASA 5, Mir EO 23 and 24, STS 86 down, STS 103, Soyuz TMA 3, Expedition 9. And then Guy Gardner, January 6, 1948, STS 27 and 35. Not an astronaut, but would have liked to have been. Stephen Hawking, born January 8, 1942. Theoretical physicist is his title, and we miss him. What an amazing brain he had. Okay, this week in space history. First near-moon shot, January 2nd, 1959. The USSR Lunik 1 is launched with the objective to impact the moon's surface. It missed, becoming the first man-made object to pass near the moon. It then continued on and became the first man-made object to orbit the sun. Then Sputnik. On this day, on January 4th in 1958, Sputnik, the world's first artificial satellite, burned up on re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. The satellite sent signals back to Earth for almost a month before its batteries died. The metal arming key, and there's a picture, I don't think we see the picture, is the only surviving piece of Sputnik. And by the way, that's on display at the Smithsonian. I'm not sure why we have it. It prevented contact between the batteries and transmitters until the satellite was prepared for launch and was removed before launch. All right, do we have any more check-ins? Please come now. Okay, let's make Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week. Chaz, KF5, JHA, take it away.
Thank you, Brenda. Slide Master, slide number 13, please. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019 with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Ms. Carolyn covered the entire sky over Texas in a year. In her honor, we have continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Ms. Carolyn's constellations, and I'm using as a plural, This week is Fornax, the furnace, and Eridanus, or Aerodontis, the river. Fornax, the furnace, is one of the more modern constellations of the southern sky created by the French astronomer Nicolas Loud de Lasalle around 1751. He originally named it the chemical furnace, but the name has since been shortened to Fornax, the furnace. Slide master, slide number 14, please. Now, you know the reason why most of you are hanging around this long on Skynet is to hear these great jokes that I tell. And I try to make them related to the constellations we're talking about. So here we go. Did you hear about the pottery furnace that exploded? It was terrible. They had to notify its next of kiln. Last winter, there was a guy that got into an argument with his furnace. You could say things got a little heated. Now, this other guy's furnace broke down on him. So he threw a housewarming party. All right, maybe the next three will be okay. This guy fell in the river in Egypt last week, but swears he didn't. He's in denial. Two hillbillies were on opposite sides of the riverbank. One hollered. Now, you have to understand, I'm telling this joke on myself because I'm at least 1/4, maybe as much as a half hillbilly. So one hollered, "How do I get to the other side?" And the other one hollered back, "You're on the other side already." Okay, maybe that wasn't funny. Why does a river have a lot of money? It has two banks. Oh, thank you, JJ. You came up with it. That was great. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 15. Alpha Fornicia, I believe that's how you say the genitive, is the brightest star in Fornax. It shines at a magnitude of 3.8 and is the only star in Fornax brighter than 4th magnitude. Alpha Fornicia has two proper names with it, Daumin or Fornicia. It's a binary star. The companion star, Fornicia B, shines at about 7th magnitude and is separated by 5 arc seconds, which isn't a lot. It takes about 300 years to complete an orbit. In the telescope, Alpha Fornicia looks like a white or a yellow-white, and there is about 5 or 6 other stars in the field of view. Slide number 16, please. The next object is NGC 1360. Dave Hutchinson wrote in the Constellation of the Month article in the Spectrum newsletter for the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas about Fornax. Everyone who observes this planetary nebula, NGC 1360, wonders why this object is not more well known. It is a large object and not one of the typical smaller planetary nebula that look like stars at a first glance. NGC 1360 is large enough and bright enough that it can be seen with a 60-millimeter refractor and has been observed with instruments that are slightly smaller. The late Walter Scott Houston, in his Deep Sky Wonders column, called it a fantastic Fornax planetary. Slide number 17, please. Now, we talked about the James Webb Space Telescope, but don't forget, we've had something else up there for over 25 years, Hubble. Hubble did a deep field view picture, but then they went after an ultra deep field view, and it was taken in an area of void that looked like nothing in the area of Fornax. Dave Hutchinson pointed his telescope at the region of the Hubble Deep Field, Ultra Deep Field, and saw nothing. However, Dave notes that today's amateur astronomers are seeing astronomical objects that would have been considered impossible 20 to 30 years ago, and they are producing remarkable photographs of objects that rival or even exceed those produced by large observatories or space probes from not long ago. Quoting from the article, our challenge is now to see what amateurs can show 20 years from now in this small corner of space. Slide number 18, please. The constellation of Eridanus or Aerodante has been associated with various rivers on the Earth, including the Euphrates, the Nile, and particularly the Tagus, which is also known today as the Po River in Italy. The river Eridanus or Eridanus is what the ancient Greeks called the Po River. In mythology, Eridanus is associated with the tragic story of Falcon, I'm going to call it that, the mortal son of the sun god Helios. Falcon asked Helios to allow him to drive the chariot of the sun for a single day, a wish that Helios reluctantly granted. Falcon lost control of the chariot, passed too close to the Earth, setting the whole mountain ranges on fire. Zeus had to intervene to save the Earth from destruction with a well-placed lightning bolt. Falcon's blazing body fell from the chariot into the river Eridanus, the waters which quenched the flames. Falcon was killed, but the Earth was saved. What an interesting myth. Slide number 17. Epsilon Aerodante is an interesting star in several levels. For one thing, it is one of the nearest naked eye stars to the Sun, with Epsilon about 10.5 light years away. Among the naked eye stars, only Alpha Centauri system and Sirius are closer. Secondly, it is comparable to our Sun in spectral type and luminosity. And finally, astronomers believe there's a Jupiter-sized exosolar planet in orbit around it, making Epsilon one of the nearest stars to our solar system to have known planets. Actually, Alpha Centauri has a planet, we believe, as well. The planet takes 7 years to orbit Epsilon, and an average of 3.4 astronomical units. Alpha Aerodante, or Achenar, means the star at the end of the river, and that's exactly where it is. It's at the extreme southern end of the constellation. Achenar is magnitude 0.53 blue-white giant of spectral type B. It is about 120 light years away. You may be wondering why such a bright and easily visible naked eye object would be called a challenge object. The challenge is to travel far enough south to see it. Achenar cannot be seen from Dallas or most of the United States. It's visible from Florida and the southern parts of Texas, the Gulf Coast, or, of course, from Hawaii. It can be seen from the Davis Mountains and Big Bend regions of Texas on autumn evenings. Unfortunately, it cannot be seen during the Texas Star Party, since the sun is up at the same time as Achenar during that time period. I understand that it can be seen from the El Dorado Star Party, since it is up in the early morning hours before dawn during the time that the El Dorado Star Party is held. Slide number 20, please. NGC 1291, by the way, NGC stands for New General Catalog. So NGC 1291 is an unusual galaxy. It looks somewhat like a spiral galaxy, except it appears that the spiral arms have separated from the nucleus, forming a ring around the nucleus, with a sizable gap between the nucleus and the ring. Interesting. It shows up on photographs, but not easily by just looking through a telescope. Slide number 21. NGC 1535 is a planetary nebula known as Cleopatra's Eye. The Astronomical League guidebook, Observe the Herschel Objects, describes this nebula as a small, circular, and almost stellar with a definite blue tint. Dave Hutchinson recommends a large aperture telescope for viewing this object, as well as taking some time to observe it to give yourself some time to make out some of the details. Walter Scott Houston notes that NGC 1535 were in a close agreement to Dave Hutchinson's. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 22, please. Here are a few more Astronomical League Observing Program objects in the constellation of Fornax, the Furnace, and Eridanus, the River. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has about 73 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe those 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Slide number 23. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, or Constellations of the Week, Fornax, the Furnace, and Eridanus, the River. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words that on deep sky objects that I've used, and I borrow and I steal for every night. Also, at times, I use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Next time, I'll take a look at the constellation Perseus the Hero and Camelopardalis the Giraffe. This is KF5, JHA, sending it back to our net control. And 73 to everyone. It's all yours, Brenda.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Okay, we have KI5KTX, Philippe, who is just listening. Do we have any more check-ins?
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Quinlan.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Okay, we got K5KTX Kelly and KG5APL Patrick. Welcome to the net. All right, next segment is space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. And I forgot to mention, next week, next Saturday, will be the 10th anniversary of Skynet. So we're working on some special things for Skynet next week, net controls. If you want to bring anything to the net special or unique, think about it and let me know, and we'll put it in. So next week will be the 10th anniversary of Skynet. All right, first up is the Spaceflight Now launch schedule as the following. We've got Launcher 1 above the clouds. This is launching from Cosmic Girl, which is Virgin Atlantic 747 passenger plane that's been converted from the Mojave Air and Spaceport in California. Launcher 1 rocket will launch on its fourth flight after dropping from the modified Boeing 747 carrier jet. The mission will be Virgin Orbit's second operational launch, carrying small satellites for the U.S. military space test program, Spire, and the Polish company Sat Revolution. Then also in January, no date yet, we've got Electron Launch. This is Black Sky 16 and 17, no date as of yet. This will fly from Mahana Peninsula in New Zealand, Launch Complex 1A. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch 2 small second-generation satellites for Black Sky's commercial fleet of Earth observation satellites. On January 13th, we do have one. This is Falcon 9 launch. It will be from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch Transporter 3 mission, a ride-share flight to a sun-synchronous orbit with small microsatellites and nanosatellites for commercial and government customers. . see here, we don't have a date for it, but Launch Complex 39A from Kennedy Space Center, SpaceX Falcon 9 will launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. On January 21st, there will be an Atlas V launch, SLC-41 from Cape Canaveral Space Force in Florida. The United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket will launch the USSF-8 mission with the 5th and 6th satellites for the Space Force's Geosynchronous Space Situational Awareness Program, or GSAP, designed to help the military track and observe objects in geosynchronous orbit. Well, that's different. The rockets will fly in the 5-on-1 configuration with 5-meter fairing, 1 solid rocket booster, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. On January 24th, yet another Falcon 9 launch. This one will be SLC-40, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Falcon 9 rocket will launch the second Cosmos Skymed second-generation CSG-2 radar surveillance satellite for ASI, the Italian Space Agency. The spacecraft was built by Alina Space. Then we have another Falcon 9 Starlink. Boy, you think they got something going on here with SpaceX, but indeed another Falcon launch, no date yet. From Pad 39A, the Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. Then also we have coming up, no date as of yet, this was mentioned earlier, Falcon Heavy USSF-44 from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. Falcon Heavy rocket will launch the USSF-44 mission for the U.S. Space Force. The mission is expected to deploy 2 spacecraft payloads directly into geosynchronous orbit, one of which is the military's Tetra-1 microsatellite. We have SSLV launching. This is from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India. India's small satellite launch vehicle, SSLV, will launch on its first orbital test flight, consisting of 3 solid-fueled stages and a liquid-fueled upper stage. The SSLV is a new Indian launch vehicle designed to carry small satellites into low Earth orbit. Then we have another SSLV, again from Satish Dhawan Space Center. This is the Black Sky Global. Will launch on its first commercial mission with 4 Earth observation satellites for Black Sky Global, a Seattle-based company. The rideshare mission for Black Sky is being arranged by Spaceflight. Then we have another to be determined. This is PSLV Reset. Guess what? It's another one from Satish Dhawan Space Center. They're really doing a lot of missions these days, or launches. India's Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, PSLV, designated PSLV C-52, will launch the Indian Reset 1A Radar Earth Observation Satellite. Then, of course, was mentioned earlier, Starship Orbital Test Flight. This will fly from Boca Chica Beach in southern Texas. The SpaceX Super Heavy and Space Starship launch vehicle will launch on its first orbital test flight. The mission will attempt to travel around the world for nearly 1 full orbit, resulting in a re-entry and splash countdown of the Starship near Hawaii. At this, and that's it. That's what I got, Miss Brenda. Back to you. KE5I6.
Okay, Tom. Well, thank you very much. Any additional check-ins now? Okay, next is recent astronomical discoveries. This article is a little bit long, so I may cut it short, but we'll see. Earth isn't super because the sun had rings before planets. Pressure bumps in sun's protoplanetary disk explain many solar system features. Before the solar system had planets, the sun had rings, bands of dust and clouds similar to Saturn's rings that likely played a role in Earth's formation, according to a new study. In the solar system, something happened to prevent the Earth from growing, growing to become a much larger type of terrestrial planet called a super-Earth, said Rice University astrophysicist Andre Isidoro, referring to the massive rocky planet seen around at least 30% of sun-like stars in our galaxy. Isidoro and colleagues used a supercomputer to simulate the solar system's formation hundreds of times. Their model, which is described in a study published online in Nature Astronomy, produced rings like those seen around many distant young stars. It also faithfully reproduced several features in the solar system missed by many previous models, including an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter containing objects from both the inner and outer solar system. The locations and stable, almost circular orbits of Earth, Mars, Venus, and Mercury. The masses of the inner planets, including Mars, which many solar system models overestimate, the dichotomy between the chemical makeup of objects in the inner and outer solar system, a Kuiper belt region of comets, asteroids, and small bodies beyond the orbit of Neptune. The study by astronomers, astrophysicists, and planetary scientists from Rice, the University of Bordeaux, Southwest Research Institute in Boulder, Colorado, and the Max Planck Institute for Astronomy in Heidelberg, Germany, draws on the latest astronomical research on infant star systems. Their model assumes 3 bands of high pressure arose within the sun's disk of gas and dust. Such pressure bumps have been observed in ringed stellar disks around distant stars, and the study explains how pressure bumps and rings could account for the solar system's architecture, said lead author Isidoro, a Rice postdoctoral researcher who received his PhD training at Sao Paulo State University in Brazil. If super-Earths are super common, why don't we have one in the solar system, Isidoro said. We propose that pressure bumps produce disconnected reservoirs of this material in the inner and outer solar system and regulated how much material was available to grow planets in the inner solar system. For decades, scientists believed gas and dust in protoplanetary disks gradually become less dense, dropping smoothly as a function of distance from the star. But computer simulations show planets are unlikely to form in smooth disk scenarios. In a smooth disk, all solid particles, dust grains or boulders, should be drawn inward very quickly and lost in the stars, said astronomer and study co-author Andrea Isela, an associate professor of physics and astronomy at Rice. One needs something to stop them in order to give them time to grow into planets. When particles move faster than the gas around them, they feel a heat headwind and drift very quickly toward the star, Isidoro explained. At pressure bumps, gas pressure increases. Gas molecules move faster, and solid particles stop feeling the headwind. Excuse me. That allows dust particles to accumulate at pressure bumps, he said. Isela said astronomers have observed pressure bumps in protoplanetary disk rings with the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, or ALMA, an enormous 66-dish radio telescope that came online in Chile in 2013. ALMA is capable of taking very sharp images of young planetary systems that are still forming, and we've discovered that a lot of the protoplanetary disks in these systems are characterized by rings, Isela said. The effect of the pressure bump is that it collects dust particles, and that's why we see rings. These rings are regions where you have more dust particles than in the gaps between rings. Ring formation. The model by Isidoro and colleagues assumed pressure bumps formed in the early solar system at 3 places where sunward falling particles would have released large amounts of vaporized gas. It's just a function of distance from the star because temperature is going up as you get closer to the star, said geochemist and study co-author Rajdeep Gupta, the Maurice Ewing Professor of Earth Systems Science at Rice. The point where the temperature is high enough for ice to be vaporized, for example, is a sublimation line we call the snow line. In the Rice simulations, pressure bumps at the sublimation lines of silicate, water, and carbon monoxide produce three distinct rings. At the silicate line, the basic ingredient of sand and glass, silicon dioxide, became vapor. This produced the Sun's nearest ring, where Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars would later form. The middle ring appeared at the snow line, and the farthest ring at the carbon monoxide line. Protoplanetary disks cool with age, so sublimation lines would have migrated toward the Sun. The studies showed this process could allow dust to accumulate into asteroid-sized objects called planetesimals, which could then come together to form planets. Isidoro said previous studies assumed planetesimals could form if dust were sufficiently concentrated, but no model offered a convincing theoretical explanation of how dust might accumulate. Our model shows pressure bumps can concentrate dust, and moving pressure bumps can act as planetesimal factories, as Isidoro said. We simulate planet formation starting with grains of dust and covering many different stages from small millimeter-sized grains to planetesimals and then planets. All right, this article goes on for a bit more. It's from ScienceDaily.com, so you can go look it up and finish it if you would like. Okay, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. Tom, KE5ICX, do you have something for us?
Yeah, Brenda, I go ahead and give you those. The International Space Station makes triumphant returns. We've got it January 9th. Let's get these things up here. January 9th is a good pass, minus 3.4 magnitude at 6:18 in the morning. It'll allow us to see it. Yeah, it's tomorrow. It reaches highest point at 6:19 and 48 degrees out of the west, and it will fall to the south-southeast at 10 degrees. The next one, January 16th, is a very good pass. Minus 3.9 magnitude at 6:54 in the evening out of the southwest. Reaches its highest point at 72 degrees at 18:57 and falls at 18:58. So that one falls into shadow, but it's still a good pass. Next up is the Tiangong Space Station. The Tiangong is the Chinese station. I believe there are 3 tachyonauts up there currently. We have one pass. This one is, let's see, January 14th. This one is, there's actually 2 passes on that day, but the one we can see is 1.0 magnitude at 6:47 a.m. out of the west-northwest. Reaches its highest point at 6:49 directly overhead out of the south-southwest, and it will fall to 6:52 to the east-southeast. So that one is, as I said, directly overhead. Very, very good pass. Next up is Envisat. Envisat is our go-to when everybody else is kind of like hiding, and that is the oversized old weather satellite. Gigantic. It's been out of commission for decades, but it has a very huge footprint. Therefore, it is able to reflect light quite well. It's also in a polar orbit, which makes it easy to spot once the sun is in a favorable position. So we've got one that's pretty good. This is on January, well, I got 2. I got January 12th, 2.8 magnitude at 5:26 in the morning out of the north. Reaches its highest point at 80 degrees at 5:31 and falls at 5:36 to the south-southwest. The second one, January 15th, 3.0 magnitude. Now, this might be a little bit of a challenge here in Dallas because of the light pollution, but that one also is fairly good pass. 5:14 in the morning, reaches its highest point at 5:19 at 79 degrees east-southeast, and then it'll fall to the south at 10 degrees. So there you have it, short and sweet. Those are the ones I've got for you for this week. This is KE5ICX.
Okay, any checked-in stations with other remarks or questions? Any final check-ins? Does anyone need any fills? Okay, tonight we had 26 hymns participating on the air. Thanks to all of you who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 o'clock to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations, and for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand with this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. Brenda, and I'll be closing the net here at 10:25 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. So to everybody, enjoy the evening discovering the universe. But wait, there's more. KE5ICX, do you want to tell us about Afterglow?
Yeah, Brenda, we'll be reviewing First Man into Space from 1959. That we'll be doing that net here in about 5 minutes. And I hope somebody can take the net. I'm not up to snuff this evening, so if somebody can take the net, I'd really appreciate it. And I know, Brenda, you had a long evening doing it, so hopefully someone else. But in any case, yes, First Man into Space from 1959 will be the movie in about 5 minutes. This is KE5ICX.
normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, do we have any volunteers to be net control for first man into space? All right, looks like I have it. This is WB5OZL, and this is the what we call the Afterglow Movie Nets, because it's after Skynet. And tonight we have a really good movie called First Man into Space. I am going to read about it. The working title of it was Satellite of Blood, and I'm not going to read Tom's poem again because we read it already. And so it's a 1959 independently made, who figured, British-American black and white science fiction horror film. It was produced by John Croydon, Charles F. Vedder, and Richard Gordon for Amalgamated Films, and was distributed by MGM. Directed by Robert Day. It stars Marshall Thompson, Marla Landy, Bill Edwards, and Robert Ayers. The film is based on a story by Wyatt Ordung, while the pilot was developed from a script that had been pitched to and rejected by AIP. So, U.S. Navy Commander Charles Chuck Prescott, Marshall Thompson, is unsure if his brother, Lieutenant Dan Prescott Edwards, is the right choice for piloting the high-altitude rocket-powered Y-13. Air Force Space Command's Captain Ben Richards, Robert Ayers, insisted Dan is their best pilot, even though when piloting the Y-12 in the ionosphere, he began experiencing difficulties. Dan ignored flight regulations upon landing by seeing his girlfriend, Marla Landy, rather than filing his flight report. Captain Richards, however, insisted that Dan pilot the Y-13 after being checked out and briefed by Dr. Paul von Essen, Carl Jaffe. At 600,000 feet, Dan is supposed to level off the Y-13 to begin its descent, but continues to climb, firing his emergency boost for more speed. He climbs to 1,320,000 feet, 250 miles, and loses control while passing through a dense cloud of unknown material, forcing him to eject. I can't believe they wrote such a long synopsis of this. This is just not worth doing. Well, it goes downhill from there. He's turned into a monster. He kills cattle and people, and so he has a lot of conflict with his brother, and he and his girlfriend keep hooking up all the time when he's supposed to be working, and they help him out, but it doesn't work. He dies at the end. I hope that doesn't ruin it for you. Okay, I hope somebody comes. I don't want to do this by myself. Let's take check-ins now, regular check-ins. Please come now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill in Irving.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Okay, anybody from Echolink? And oops, I forgot to read those back. November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill. November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony. Anybody else of any mode?
Whiskey Delta 5, Baker, Papa, X-ray, Bobby, Wilson.
KF5 TFG mobile.
Okay, we have WD5BPX, Bobby, and KF5G, I think it's GFG, and didn't get a name.
Kilo India 5 Tango Foxtrot Quebec Blake. I'm out of Dallas.
Okay, Kilo India 5 Tango Foxtrot Quebec, I think, Wade. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and I am slipping. I forgot to ask everybody to tell us whether or not you saw the movie, so we'll do that when we go down the list. Any more check-ins?
Yeah, I just checked in a while ago. I've been off for a while, and I have not seen the film, though.
Yeah, this is actually a different net, so we got brand new check-ins. Skynet's over, and this is the Afterglow net. And just because you didn't see the movie does not mean you can't have opinions or talk about science fiction or movies or anything else, or make comments on what the other people have to say. All right, what we do usually, and I guess we'll do it tonight, is first round, talk about the plot. Second round, characterization, characters, and third round, special effects, or anything else you want to talk about. So let's get started. N5BB, Bill, what did you think about the plot?
Oh, thank you, Brenda. This is N5BB. Yes, I did see the movie. Well, it started off being, your normal science fiction, early space things, and then devolved into crazy, out of control pilot can't take orders and wants to do stupid things, which was actually totally unrealistic. And then it devolved into nothing but a monster movie. And a very stupid one at that. That made absolutely no sense. So the moment that it devolved into the monster movie, the rest of the plot was just useless as far as I was concerned. They just had to find some way to get the monster to go around and kill people, because in monster movies lots of people die and they're scared, and there's always a love interest. I don't know. Stupid. Again, the first few minutes of the film, I thought, well, maybe this can be an okay film. But it devolved into nothing. So this is why we've never heard this film before. At least I've never heard of it before. N5BB.
Okay, NT5TM Tony, did you see it? And tell us what you think of the plot, if you saw it.
I did see it, and I do have to agree with Bill that yes, the out-of-control pilot was pretty intolerable as a plot element. That guy wouldn't last even in the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. I mean, imagine if it's field day and someone tells you don't stick that transmission line on your mouth, it's got a high voltage on it, and so he puts it in his mouth. Or we're all working on the repeater and someone says, hey, don't tap dance on the edge of the tall building. And so, of course, he's the kind of guy who would have to go tap dance on the edge of the tall building. No one wants to be around somebody like that. I can't believe you keep a job as a grocery clerk. But that said, hey, at least the movie was short. And as it went on, I actually kind of, they did a little bit of a job of getting me to feel, a little bit of sympathy for the monster, because the monster had once been the annoying, out-of-control pilot. Oh, whoops, that was a spoiler, wasn't it? So I would definitely not give this movie anything better than a C. But it was cliched and formulaic, but it was short and it kept moving, and they did make a good faith effort to make the monster not an unfeeling, tentacle creature from outer space, but someone we could identify with, and I thought that was kind of a good effort on their part of the plot. NT5TM.
Okay, WD5BPX, Bobby, you're up next.
Well, I'm an old man. I remember the movie way back. Keep in mind, 1959, we didn't know a whole lot about space, had no idea what effect it would have on people. So in that respect, it was kind of interesting. I thought it was quite entertaining back when I saw it, but I was a young man when I saw it. I'm approaching 75 at this point. But the time period, hey, I think it was pretty good entertainment. WD5 be back to net control.
Okay. KF5 GFG. I didn't get your name and or whether you saw the movie, so it's your turn to tell us whatever you want to tell us.
KF5 TFQ as in Quebec. I was just kind of monitoring the band. I just wanted to check in. I'm a new ham, so I'm just kind of listening in, and I don't really have an opinion. I was just listening, so.
Okay, KF5TFQ. Well, you're certainly welcome to do that, and you can jump in anytime you want. And so we had KF5, I think, GFG didn't get your name. Would you like to come on the net?
Name is Blake. KI5ESQ. Kilo India 5, Tango Foxtrot Quebec.
Okay. And the other unknown station, KF5, I think is GFG, I think. And what is your name, please? Okay, I think we lost him. I guess it's, anybody else want to check in? Okay, it's my turn to make some comments now. The plot, it was just so contrived. I had great hopes in the beginning, some stunning stock footage of airplanes and rockets and things, and I don't know how much this X12 and X13, I'm sorry, Y12 and Y13 correspond to the real world. I know Y12 was a precursor to the SR-71, but the thing they were flying looked for all the world like the Bell X-1. So I'm not sure. I'm going to do some research on it, I think, just because I like aviation history. And, yeah. Test pilots cannot be undisciplined, maverick, out of control, hot shots. You have to follow the rules. You have to work with everybody else. With his attitude, he would have washed out a long time ago. So that part of the script is really not authentic to me. And they have lots of test pilots. If he's not going to play nice, they move him down the line, get somebody else. That's my opinion. And he went through some vague cloud, and then it changed him into a monster, not only with a hideous appearance, but a thirst for all kinds of blood. So, it just wasn't believable. And, this is basically just a horror movie, and they try to contrive some way to make the monster horrible. A lot of movies, they don't explain it. Monster just shows up, and we accept, there's a monster. So the only thing that would have made this more believable if he carried the lady off into the swamp, and of course her dress would have to be somewhat torn or falling off of her for this to be believable. But that's what usually happens. For some reason, monsters like to cart women off, and at least I would have made this a little more believable. All right, moving on, let's talk about characterization. N5BB, Bill.
This is N5BB. Well, they characterized the people. The protagonist was a by-the-rules, strict, you got to do it the right way kind of guy. His brother was exactly the opposite and never should have been in the military and involved with that. And then his brother's girlfriend was starry-eyed and, I don't know, pretty formulaic. And we didn't really learn very much more about them than that. And the characters were true to themselves. They stuck with it the whole movie. And I think the actors, tried to do exactly the way that their characters were written. So to me, the acting wasn't that bad, and the directing wasn't that bad. The story was just stupid. Anyway, that's my personal belief. In Habibi.
All right, thank you. NT5TM, Tony, what do you think of the characters?
Well, Bill was not wrong. They were consistent. They were certainly drawn with a very broad brush, no little drafting pen here. I enjoyed the Mexican consul complaining about the rockets from White Sands occasionally falling into Mexico and causing damage and alarming the populace, because that is the sort of thing that causes international incidents and makes people very unhappy. And I think it actually did happen a couple of times, so that was kind of amusing. Yeah, everyone did kind of stick with it. We had the German scientist who was very German. It was amusing that he was a psychiatrist and not a rocket scientist. But we even had the stock German scientist. So the characters were pretty formulaic. But I gotta agree with Bill there that the actors were sure trying. It wasn't like the cinematography was bad or the actors couldn't act. It was just the material. NT5TM.
All right. WD5BPX, Bobby, are you there?
Oh, well, like I told you, I looked a long time ago. My memory of it isn't too fresh, but my opinion was, like I say, at the time I was young, so it was good entertainment. That's all I got to say. That I could see a person or a pilot that was in experimental stuff. Those guys were unique in themselves, and I'm sure that I could see one of those guys wanted to push it to the limit. And if they wanted to push it past the limit that the control people thought should be the limit, I can see a test pilot kind of pushing that. But I enjoyed the movie. I've enjoyed this and that. I'm going to have to excuse myself, though, so y'all carry on. WD5BPX, clear, and back to net control.
All right, thank you. And KF5 GFG, I think. Never got your name. And are you still with us tonight? Okay, do we have any more check-ins?
W5 BLT Bill Garland. Saw the movie? I think for its day it was probably not a bad movie up here at the drive-in. W5 BLT back to net control.
W5BLD, Bill, did you say you saw the movie or not?
Yeah, I saw the movie, and I enjoyed it. I actually like the old
kind of B science fiction movies. So I realize it may not have been the greatest entertainment, maybe, but it was just fun to watch. It had good dialogue, and yeah, I think for its time, those kind of campy movies, people just went to enjoy the entertainment. Not the special effects or maybe storylines that we have today, but it was just kind of a neat throwback movie.
W5BLT?
All right, thanks for your comments. Okay, yeah, this is like so many other late 50s era movies. They cranked them out. They weren't very good, but the cheesiness has an appealing nature to it. It's so bad it's funny, unintentionally funny, so bad it's good, and sort of escapism to watch something that's just truly dreadful. And this is. Although you might say it wasn't that bad compared to some others we've watched. The characters, I thought the Dan character was totally unlikable in my opinion. I don't know why, I just instantly didn't like him. And I guess they did that on purpose. He was more, I can't trust him. The other characters to me were mostly forgettable, and I'm not even sure what purpose the woman had in there. Other than just a distraction for the pilots. And that she wasn't all that important with the story. Although I have to say, when her boyfriend died, at least she had a backup boyfriend. She went running after the brother, so, you know, that probably ended better than it could have. Yeah. You know, often the monster is its own character. So we have two characters. We have Dan, the human, and then the unnamed monster that he turns into, who is very typical of monsters. Inarticulate, just prone to mindless violence, and altogether scary. I'm not sure what they have him on his body to make him look like that, but it really is creepy to look at. All right, do we have any more check-ins? This is WB50ZL. All right, starting back at the top, N5BB, Bill. You can talk about special effects or anything else you want.
Thank you, Brenda. This is N5BB. Well, as I think you mentioned earlier, they had some stock footage at the start and various other places. And lots of things in Albuquerque and I assume in White Sands Missile Range. By the way, there was a comment in the movie about from the Mexican consul saying that, oh, remember the thing that occurred in Juarez, and the U.S. guy said, but that was nearly 10 years ago. Well, yes, there actually was. In the late 1940s, there was an incident where a captured V-2 that had been reconfigured with some other guidance hardware, its guidance system went haywire. It was launched from White Sands Missile Range, and instead it went in the wrong direction, and it crash landed in Juarez, Mexico, right across the border from El Paso. Caused some damage. I think somebody may have been killed, but I know it caused some damage, and the U.S. had to pay some reparations. Now, how do I know this? It's because composite White Sands Missile Range. This is inside BB. The White Sands Missile Range, which is roughly an hour north of the El Paso Airport, in southeast New Mexico, or actually just south central New Mexico. At White Sands Missile Range, there is a museum, and part of the museum is a building that has a V-2 rocket, which is all laid out horizontally, and it's opened up so you can see the innards of it. And inside that museum building, that's all that's in the building is the V-2 rocket and some information on the walls. And on the walls, they have a lot of old newspaper articles when that event happened, when the V-2 went out of control and went to Mexico, into Mexico and the U.S. It was a major international incident there. This is in 5BB, so that was true. And anyway, but to me, the special effects of this crusty thing around the body was stupid. One eye was poking out, and his teeth were kind of snaggly. It was just monster makeup. It had nothing to do, to me, it really matched a real plot of going into space. All that stuff was just weird, made-up stuff. The protective material when they went up there made no sense at all to me. Just stupid. Anyway, that's all I got in 5BB.
Okay, NT5TM Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda. Yeah, I have to echo your previous unlikable comment. As I was trying to allude to, I would not have let that main character carry my groceries. If I'd have said, please put them in the trunk, he'd have stuck them in the tailpipe of somebody else's car. I mean, but something that I thought was kind of cool about the bad effects was the upper part, his upper body covering, I don't know what to call it, the top half of his monster suit, really just looked like a jacket that somebody had painted with craters, like moon craters. And I can really imagine, like, if you were in some goofy band like Guar or something, wearing that to perform. So I kind of thought that was a cool texture. I mean, it wasn't at all believable for a monster, but I think it looked kind of neat, and it would have been something very, very kind of zany to wear. One thing that I did think was interesting scientifically was, before anyone had been in space, and there was a lot of concern about how zero-G would affect people's ability to focus, the way the German doctor was talking to the astronaut on his first flight there on the Y-12 was very much like how the Navy talked to people to try to get them ready for nitrogen narcosis. And probably everyone on the net knows what that is, but that's when you are, in case someone doesn't, that's when you're diving, breathing normal air, which is oxygen and nitrogen, and you go too deep. The nitrogen starts to act like a drug, and it makes you goofy and anesthetized. And this was, in the early days before they had helium or anything that you could breathe. So they would train divers to just, I'm going to go down to the submarine, I'm going to turn the hatch. I'm going to turn the hatch knob to the left, and I'll come back up. I go to the hatch, I turn to the left. They just had to focus on these very simple steps and then ending their dive, because it's the only way to cope with the nitrogen narcosis. And that's really the way he was talking to the astronaut, and it would be very interesting and kind of goofy if that's the way zero-G really affected people, but I thought that was just an interesting thing they thought of. Like, maybe zero-G will be like nitrogen. Who knows? Anyway, that was the one scientific thing I thought was at all interesting or amusing in the movie, and I thought the cratered texture of the monster skin would have made a cool heavy metal wardrobe. NT5TM.
Yes, this is WB50ZL. Well, all that stock footage was definitely the best thing about the movie. You know, and they're just speculating that, you know, if there was something at high altitudes to hurt you, you'd probably just die. You wouldn't be transformed into some kind of monster like you'd gone through a transporter or something. You know, he was so determined to be the first man into space, but the fact is, well, let me point this out. When Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier in October of 1947, it was a secret. And it got out a couple of months later when the story was leaked. And and that's how we found out. I don't know how long that would have been kept secret had it not been leaked. But this guy, you know, wants to be the first. Well, who would ever know? When would they ever mention, you know, be on the news or have any kind of notoriety for it? Because this is obviously a secret project. So, oh, another thing, he seemed to have an awful lot of fuel in that tiny little rocket. That didn't ring true for me, because to send something out that far, you need a lot of fuel, or we do now. Okay, anybody else want to check in?
KF5 TFQ. Sorry, I'm kind of a newbie at this, but I was listening to the conversation about the nitrogen there, and because I'm a pilot in my training, I had to learn about nitrogen and hypoxia and whatnot. And what was stated about the nitrogen is absolutely true, and that was good information there. And I thought I'd interject there about hypoxia. If you're a diver and you board an airplane about, well, what is it, like 12 hours or less, so if 8 hours after and you ascend to 5,000 feet, hypoxia can affect you, and a state of euphoria is possible at altitudes as low as 5,000 feet, so I just thought it was interesting.
Oh, thanks for joining. I missed your call and your name. Would you please give it to us?
KI5 TFQ, and my name is Blake.
Oh, KI5 TFQ. You had already checked in. I'm sorry. I thought you were somebody new.
Yes, and this is, I'm all new to ham radio, so I'm sorry if I'm interrupting things or being a nuisance, but I'm trying to learn, so thank you for being patient.
Oh, no, you're fine. And that's interesting. There are a bunch of us out here that are airplane nuts, and we like to talk about airplanes a lot, but this is, we need to have an airplane net, is what we need to do, except it would go on all night long. But that's interesting. These movies never follow science at all. They're just trying to make a movie, and they get away with it because your average viewer doesn't know the science either, and it's just laughable to those of us that do know a little more. So anyway, did you actually see the movie, Blake?
No, I did not, but I got tied up this evening, but I will watch it, and it is far older than I am. I'm only 22 years old, but I will definitely put it in my schedule to watch it sometime.
Yeah, well, don't blame us for losing an hour and 18 minutes of your life. But say, if you like airplanes, you'll love the first part of it because the stock footage is fabulous. Well, welcome to Ham Radio. Welcome to the net. We do this every Saturday night. We don't always watch a dreadful movie. Sometimes we hit the A-list. And the other day we watched The Hunt for Red October. So some good movies. But even the stinkers, sometimes we have great conversations about. I'm not quite sure why our turnout tonight is so low. We usually have a lot more than this. But that's okay. We'll still have fun. All right. Does anybody else, just give me your call sign if you will have anything else to say.
BLT. Just wanted to interject one other. I think for me it's always fun to project family members. Was quite appalled at this movie and the fun of it. W5BLT back to.
All right. Anybody else have any more comments? Well, okay. I guess we're going to wrap it up. Usually at the end, K5ICX tells us about the next movie. Are you listening, Tom? I think he went to bed. He was a little under the weather. There is an Afterglow movie Facebook page that you can join and has a list of movies there. Or you can contact Tom directly and he can tell you what the next movie is. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up here. This is WB5OZL Clear.